Okay, today I wanted to sit down and tell my birth story because I love hearing other people's birth stories. I think it's really interesting, and that's all I did my whole pregnancy was just watch other people's birth stories on YouTube so I could get kind of an idea of what could happen, all of the possibilities. And so today I wanted to sit down. We are 7 weeks, 2 days since she's been born. So sad. She's growing so fast. And I wanted to remember everything from that day because it was so fast and I'm already starting to forget some of the details. So I wanted to sit down and talk about it so that I can have this to look back on so I can remember. And it was so fast that we really didn't get that many pictures or videos. I wish we would have gotten more, but it was a whirlwind and you'll see why. So I'll start this when I was 36 weeks and 4 days. He had to do the strep test, so he decided to just check me anyway since I was there, and he checked me and I was 1 centimeter, so I was happy about that. And then the next week when I was 37 weeks, 5 days, this is January 7th, he checked me again and I was 2 to 2.5 centimeters and 80% effaced, and he decided to sweep my membranes too, which hurt so bad, but it actually was only like 5 seconds, so it was fine. And over the next about 24 hours, I had lots of cramping. They hurt pretty bad, and I was a little bit nervous that I would go into labor because that was a Thursday. So the next day, Friday, we had to go down to Cedar, which is a little over 2 hours away from where we live and where our hospital is at. So I was a little worried that the membrane sweep was going to put me in labor or something, and then we'd either be having a baby in Cedar or on the freeway somewhere, so I was a little bit nervous about that. I should have asked him if I was allowed to travel that far, but I'm pretty sure he probably would have just said to play it safe and stay home. But we went to Cedar, everything was fine, didn't go into labor. After 24 hours, all of the cramping stopped and we were just fine. Then the next week, I was 38 weeks and 4 days at my appointment. That was January 13th. My appointment was about 4:15, but it was a busy day for them, so I didn't get checked until about 4:45 or 5. And that day I was 3 centimeters. He didn't say anything about effacement, but I assume it was anywhere close to 80% to 100%. He just didn't mention it. I was 3 centimeters, so at least I was making progress every week, so I was excited about that. He stripped my membranes again, so I was around 4:45 or 5 that he stripped my membranes. And then we went home, and I had the same kind of cramps that I did the last week, but they weren't actually as bad, which I was shocked about. And so I was at home, kind of started to feel not so great. Remember, we left the appointment at 5, and then around 6 I was like, oh, I don't really feel good, but there's like nothing crazy. And then about 6:15 I started feeling pressure. It's like, oh man, this feels like really heavy. There's a lot of pressure down there. And then at 6:45, out of nowhere, what I assumed was a contraction started. It hurt so bad. I almost started crying, so I started timing on my contraction app. 6:45 is like right when they started, and at this point I was talking to my sister-in-law. It's like, what do contractions feel like? Because I have no idea if this is what it feels like. This is not what I imagined it to feel like. I thought it would feel like period cramps, but worse. But mostly I just felt like super sick. Like it was definitely tight, but it didn't feel like anything I thought it was going to be. So she was like, I don't know, that doesn't sound like what my contractions felt like, so maybe just walk around, see if they get worse, or you can just take some Tylenol and go to bed and see if they go away if they're not that bad. Because I had told her that I'm kind of a wuss and I don't handle pain very well, so I don't think she was being cautious because I thought that I was being a wuss, so she didn't want me to go to labor and delivery if I was just being a wuss. So they started hurting. That was at 6:45 when they all started out of nowhere. I was timing them and I was just rocking back and forth, and every now and then I would just be like, oh, it hurts so bad, and TJ's in the other room like, are we going into the hospital or what's going on? Like, I don't know, I think I'm just a wuss. So I'm just sitting there dying of pain. And then after several trips to the bathroom, and then I finally puked around like 8:15. I puked and I was like, oh, I I've seen so many labor and delivery vlogs on YouTube, and they say puking is a sign of labor, so I was like, okay, you better call Craig. And Craig is TJ's brother. We had to call Craig because 2 days prior to this was a Wednesday, so on Monday, TJ was playing rec basketball, and he broke his ankle. 2 days prior, he has a broken ankle. He can't walk, so we have to call his brother to come pick us up and take us to the hospital because he can't walk or drive. So Craig shows up around 8:30-ish, and we get all of our stuff packed up. Craig takes us, and the whole way there, not that it was that long, it's like 2 minutes away, but the 2-minute drive, I was like, I don't even know if this is labor. Like, I think I'm just being dumb. And I was just very unsure that this was even labor. And my sister-in-law was like, I mean, yeah, sure, go to the hospital, it's fine. Just let me know if you're being a wuss or not. So then we get to the hospital, and we have to go through the ER because at this point it's like 8:30. So we go through the ER, and I tell him, like, oh, we need labor and delivery. I might be in labor. Well, I guess Craig told them that we needed labor and delivery because I was not okay. So they give me the wheelchair, and I tell the nurse, like, I think this might be labor. I'm not sure. It hurts really bad. I have some pressure. I've been to the bathroom several times, and I finally puked. She's like, oh yeah, those are all signs of labor. We'll go check you out and see if you're in labor. She was super nice. I was so glad that she wasn't one of those nurses that was like, ugh, why are you even coming in? You're not even in labor. All of the nurses that we had were so nice and understanding and made me feel comfortable for coming in. So thank goodness. So again, the elevator, we go up to labor and delivery, and we check in around 8:40, and they put us in our room, and luckily my actual doctor was there. He was there because another girl was in labor. She had been induced that morning at 6 a.m. And so she was there. I think she was getting close, so luckily my doctor was there. So he checked me. He's like, oh, it's like a 3.5, 4, and then we hear this gush, and he's like, oh, and your water just broke. Like, okay, cool. So that was around 8:45 that he checked me. I was like, okay, my water's broken. It's everywhere. I guess we're in labor. I guess we're staying. The nurse assured me, she's like, even if your water hadn't have broken, I would have kept you anyways because I can see the contractions on our monitor, and they're some pretty good ones. It's like, okay, I guess these are what contractions feel like. I don't even know how to describe it. I just felt so sick. I guess my belly was tight, like I'd said, but not at all what I thought was going to happen. So I'm in the bed, and TJ's like, well, so should we tell everyone that you're in labor? I was like, oh yeah, I guess we should tell some people that we're staying. So we FaceTime my mom. I was like, so I'm in labor, my water just broke. She's like, no, you're kidding. You're joking, right? It's like, nope, it's for real this time. Like, my water just broke. She's like, oh, crap. And so I can tell she's hurrying to get her bag, because she packed a bag for when I went into labor, because she wanted to be there, and I wanted her to be there too. So we hang up and talking to the nurse and everything, and then my mom calls back a couple more times because she's freaking out that she's gonna miss, because she's about 3 hours away. And the nurse was assuring her, she's like, she's only like a 3.5, 4, it's her first baby, like, you've got time, like, you don't need to speed or get pulled over or anything. Because it's my first baby, it's probably not gonna be very quick. So, and at one of my previous appointments, Dr. Skinner told us, you know, pushing for first-time moms can be upwards of 3 hours if you have the epidural, and sometimes 2 hours or more if you don't have the epidural. And I was definitely planning on getting the epidural. So I was, I guess, planning for 3 hours, but hoping for a lot less. So this is around 9 o'clock. My mom's freaking out that she's not gonna make it, and I'm thinking she's gonna be fine because I was only a 4. And I was still having pretty bad contractions, but I had to lay in the bed because they were getting my IV in. And I think she missed the first time and she was fishing a little bit. And then she had to do it another time and she finally got it the second time. But it took like 10 minutes to get my IV in. So I'm just laying there, and I really wanted to like get up and like move in different positions, but they were trying to hook me up to everything, and I just never got to. The nurse started helping with my contraction pain. She would push on my knees as I was laying there to kind of help with the pressure. And it helped a little bit for about 5 seconds, but other than that, it didn't do much. So I'm still dying in the bed, and they're asking me all the questions, like if I want a blood transfusion, if I need one, and if I want an epidural, and I say, yes, I want an epidural. And so we go through all of the questions, and then a few minutes later, they're like, you know, it kind of takes a while for the anesthesiologist to get up here. They got to get all their stuff prepped, and then they got to get up here, and then they prep you, and then put it in. So should we just call them and tell them that you want an epidural so we can get it in the next little bit? And I felt dumb because I was only 4 centimeters. I was like, yeah, let's do an epidural because I'm dying, I'm a wuss. So they called the anesthesiologist, and the anesthesiologist got there around 9:40, 9:45. So at this point, I've been at the hospital for an hour, and the anesthesiologist is already there to give me an epidural at 4 centimeters. I felt super dumb, but looking back, it wasn't that dumb. So he gets all of his stuff prepped and starts placing it at about 10. So he places it in my back at about 10, and it starts feeling a little bit better at like 10:05. And then it feels really good at 10:10. I was like, okay, this is awesome. So glad I got the epidural. And so around this time, I was thinking about, because in all of the labor and delivery vlogs that I've seen, they only got ice chips to eat after they've been admitted and were in labor. I was like, great, I only get ice chips. I'm starving because I didn't have dinner because I didn't feel very good after the appointment. And so they're like, you can have anything clear, so you can have juice and Jello and everything. I was like, ooh, heck yeah, some Jello. So we sent TJ to get Jello because he was hungry too, and they had sandwiches and stuff. So he went and got a sandwich and me some Jello. And oh, I forgot to say, when I got there, my blood sugar was super low because I had puked. And they were checking my blood sugars because I did have gestational diabetes. So they were worried that the baby was going to be huge, and they had to check my blood sugars. It was super low, so I got some juice before that too. So anyways, TJ comes back with his sandwich and my Jello, and then I opened my Jello and I Snapchat everybody. I was like, I just got the epidural, I'm feeling great. And then TJ starts getting his sandwich ready with his mayo and mustard and everything, and let's see, it's about 10:15, and then, because you can hear on the monitors her heart rate, and then all of a sudden her heart rate disappeared. I was like, oh great, they're gonna have to move it. I was getting a little bit nervous. I was like, oh no, if they can't find the heart rate. I was thinking the worst, obviously. And the nurse came in, she's like, okay, we lost her heartbeat, we might just have to move the monitor a little bit. So she's moving it around my belly, trying to find her. She's like, I can't find it. And I'm freaking out. This is like 10:15. She can't find the heart rate. So I'm nervous for everything. So she's looking around, she's like, oh, I can't find it. I'm just gonna check you real quick and kind of see what's going on. So she checks me. There's 2 nurses in there right now. And so she checks me, and she's kind of taking a minute, and I can hear her whispering to the other nurse, I think she's ready. And I was like, I'm sitting here like, what do you mean ready? She's like, somebody go get Dr. Skinner. I was like, okay, what's going on? So she's finally like, I think you're at a 10. I'm like, what? It is 10:15. How am I at a 10? Like, this is nuts. I was not prepared. This whole time I thought I was gonna get the epidural, I would have some time to chill, I was gonna put some makeup on and then have TJ kind of take some pictures and maybe some videos so that I could have kind of like a birth vlog. I was just gonna have him video what was going on, and then I could just say like, this happened, I came in at a 4, got my epidural, feeling good, you know. I wanted some footage from giving birth, but that wasn't gonna happen because I had just barely gotten my epidural to work 5 minutes ago, and now I'm at a 10. So thank goodness they didn't check me before they gave me the epidural, because I bet if they had checked me before, they wouldn't have given me the epidural because I probably was too far along. I was probably like 8 or 9 centimeters at that point when the epidural was placed. So yeah, I'm just thinking back and imagining, because you have to hunch over when you get the epidural. I was probably 7, 8, 9 centimeters hunching over, dying, getting the epidural placed, and I had no idea. So Dr. Skinner came in. Luckily he was still there waiting for the other girl that was going to give birth. She had been there all day at this point and still hadn't given birth, and somehow I'm at a 10. He comes in just to double check what the nurses found. He's like, yep, you're a 10. let's do a practice push and kind of see what's going on, because I remember he had said it could take like 3 hours, and I had just had my epidural, so it could take 3 hours to push. So we do a practice push. I push once, and he's like, okay, everybody get the stuff. And there's like 5 more people coming in with all their carts. It's like, oh, we're having a baby. It's like, okay. So they get everything set up, and they get it all ready and set up by about 10:30. And TJ was over there getting his sandwich ready. And then they're like, yeah, she's ready. He's like, okay, put the sandwich to the side. We're not eating the sandwich. I only got 1 bite of my Jell-O that I was so excited for. And I had Snapchatted everyone. It was like 10:15 when I Snapchatted them, like, feeling good, got the epidural. And I was still kind of talking to my sister-in-law, because the plan was they were going to check me again at 10:30 to see if I had made any progress. So I told her, I was like, they're going to check me in again in 15 minutes and see if anything's happening. She's like, okay, just let us know. And her husband, TJ's brother, was like, give us an update before we go to bed, like if anything's happening or whatever. I'm like, okay. So I told everyone that I'm fine, I'm feeling good with the epidural, and 15 minutes later, we're getting ready to push. It was nuts. And remember, my mom is 3 hours away. We told her that I was in labor at about 8:45, 8:50. So she's 3 hours away, and this is like an hour and a half later. Clearly she's not there yet. And I totally thought she was going to make it, and the nurse reassured her that we had time, and she was not going to make it. Well, I could have pushed forever, but I didn't. So at 10:30 we start pushing, and I just barely got the epidural, so it's working really good. I can't feel anything. I think they turned it off, I think I only had the epidural working for like 20 minutes before they shut it off, and there was no more. So I'm pushing, and they're like, yeah, just like that. Okay, push a little bit harder. It's like, okay, great. And the monitors were kind of getting messed up, so we couldn't see the contractions on the computer screen. And I couldn't feel them, so we were just pushing kind of randomly. Every now and then we could see a contraction, but I think I only pushed for like 5 contractions because we couldn't see what was going on. I couldn't feel them. And so on the 5th contraction, he's like, okay, reach down, there's her head. I was like, what? This was so fast. So I reached out, I can feel her head, and I couldn't comprehend what was going on because it was so fast. So I had her at 10:45. It was crazy. I had planned, not really planned, but I had just assumed before going in that I would be one of those that would cry when my baby was born and like placed on my chest. I was totally prepared for that because I'm a crybaby. But it was so fast, I couldn't even comprehend that I had just had a baby because it was so fast. So I didn't cry, TJ didn't cry, we were both just like, holy crap, we had a baby. I couldn't believe it. And she didn't cry right away, so they had to take her over to the warmer, which was fine. So I'm just sitting there like, what just happened? I can see her over there on the warmer. They're taking care of her, and my doctor is stitching me up. I had second degree tears, and so he had to do some stitches. It took him about 10 minutes to finish it all. So, and I know lots of people probably think 2nd degree tears are awful, but for how fast my labor was, I was pretty happy about only 2nd degree, because I thought with that fast it would definitely be like 4th degree or worse somehow. So, and since I had gestational diabetes, I was worried that she was going to be huge. She comes out 5 pounds 14 ounces, so we were worried about the diabetes for nothing because there weren't any complications afterwards. Her blood sugar was fine, my blood sugar was fine, and I just had another blood test last week to see if I have type 2 diabetes, to see if that what was caused it, and I don't, so thank goodness. So we had no complications from the gestational diabetes, and labor was so fast. And I'm going to mention, just so that I can remember, in our hospital they have several rooms that have queen-size beds in the recovery maternity ward, and so we really wanted one of those, and they have to have a couple that are only just the regular single hospital beds for people who have C-sections and whatnot. So it depends on when you get there if you get the queen-size bed, and if you have a vaginal delivery or not, if you get a queen-size bed. So before, like, while I was in labor, I think just barely after I got the epidural, we were asking about that room to our nurse. She's like, you know, there's that one lady over there, she's been here all day, and it'll just depend on who gives birth first, because there's only one more left, so whoever is done first will get that room. So I was like, oh dang, she's been here all day. I didn't know I was at 10 at this point. It's like, she's been here all day, we probably won't get it, so I was pretty bummed about that. But then 15 minutes later, I gave birth, so we did end up getting the queen-size bed, and it was actually a Tempur-Pedic bed that adjusts the legs and the feet and everything, so TJ and I got to sleep in the Tempur-Pedic bed together. He didn't have to sleep on the couch like most dads do. So that was awesome. And right after I gave birth, when they were still cleaning up the baby, TJ asked the nurse, so do we get that queen-size bed? She just laughed. She's like, yeah, I guess you do, because she hasn't given birth yet. I felt so bad that she had been there all day, and I gave birth so quick after being there. So, just to go over the timeline, I got my membrane stripped around 5, and I was at about a 3. And at 6:45, the contraction started super painful. And I puked around 8:15, so we called Craig. He got us to the hospital, and we checked in around 8:40. They checked me then, and I was a 3.5 or a 4, and my water broke then. And let's see, they got my IV in, and then we got the anesthesiologist in there quick, even though I was at a 4 and I felt like a wuss. We got that placed by about 10-ish. Started feeling really good about 10:10. And the plan was to check me at 10:30 to see if I had made any progress. But at 10:15, the monitor lost her heartbeat, so we had to figure out why that was happening. So she checked me, and I was at a 10 somehow. So, 10:15, 10:20, I was at a 10. We called in the doctor, did some practice pushes, and he realized this was the real deal. Started pushing for real at 10:30, and she was born at 10:45. So, from when my contraction started at 6:45 to 10:45, that's how long my labor was. 4 hours. I was very, very happy with a first-time labor only being 4 hours. But the only problem is, next time, everyone says it's faster, so I definitely cannot be leaving town after like 36 weeks with my next pregnancy, because it's probably gonna be just as fast, if not faster. So that's kind of terrifying. Hopefully I have time to get the epidural next time, because it made everything so nice. And my recovery after getting the epidural was super easy, because I only had it working for about 20 minutes before they turned off all of the medicine. And I don't even remember when they took the epidural out. It was a whirlwind. Everything was so fast. But because they moved me from my room after 2 hours of giving birth, so it was like 12:45 that they had moved me. I could walk just fine. I didn't have any problems. I probably could have walked after like an hour and would have been fine. So recovery after the epidural was super easy. Thank goodness, because I only had it for not that long. So that is our birth story, and I hope that I look back at this and remember how special that day was. It was such a whirlwind. Her hand keeps getting stuck. This is our little baby Aria. She's going bald on top, but she's got a nice mullet going on here. She's got a cute little mullet. So she was born on January 13th at 10:45 p.m. after only 4 hours of actual labor. Thank goodness. So that's our birth story. Oh, mother of all. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyways, that was good stuff.